The Indianapolis Colts were 9-6 and playing some of the best football in the NFL would be without their quarterback Carson Wentz against the Las Vegas Raiders on Sunday. This is a game that the Colts do not have to win to make the playoffs, but their margin for error would be much, much thinner if they did not win this game. The fact that Carson Wentz is unvaccinated has been a topic all season, Harry. There have been some in Indianapolis that have been saying, it may just be a matter of when, right? Because of the way that this virus is currently spreading with the Omicron variant. But how important was the update yesterday of the NFL's protocols? Because it feels to me like we maybe have turned over a new leaf about how the NFL is going to approach COVID-19 and the protocols for the rest of this season.
I think it's important for the simple fact of guys getting back on the field to play. As far as, do I like the 5-day period? I really don't, to be honest, Phil. If anything, I think it should be 7 days. To go from 10 days, even if the CDC says go from 10 days to 5 days, that's still a little weird to me, right? Because it's still a time period. That's half of the days. So if it would have been 7 days, I would have been cool with that. But the fact that it's 5, I think it's more so leaning towards guys getting back on the football field quicker. And I'll tell you this, if they wouldn't have changed it, if I was the Colts, let me call Phillip Rivers right now. Hey, Phil, we need you, Phil, man. We need you to come back. 1 week, 2 weeks, we don't know. We need you, okay? That's Frank right to Phil. That would have had to happen because I don't think you could have jeopardized the season knowing that Carson Wentz wasn't going to play that game. Now, I'm going to go Sam Ehlinger a little bit. If he happens to have to start this game, that's a tough one for the Colts because the 3 games that I've seen Sam Ehlinger play were in the preseason, right? 3 games, he had 3 interceptions, Phil. So if he has to start on Sunday, a couple things have to happen. Number 1, I think Frank Wright has to give him early and easy completions so he gains that confidence early in that football game. Number 2, you rely on Jonathan Taylor. He's a guy that you've been riding his bell cow. He's been the bell cow. You've been riding his coattail the entire year. Has over 1,600 yards rushing, 17 touchdowns, has over 300 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns on that end. So he can do it both in the run game and the pass game. Number 3, your skill position players, tight ends, wide receivers, running backs. They have to make Sam Ehlinger right. If it's a tough catch, you have to make it. If it's an unbelievable catch, you have to make it no matter what. And the last but not least, I think this defense has to have his back no matter what because if we're going off the sample size that we've seen in preseason, he's going to turn the football over. But you have to have his back. We call it sudden change. You have to have his back no matter what.
From a different angle. And it's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. So it sounds like the Colts are going to have Carson Wentz on Sunday based off of the updated protocols. Because, as we mentioned, even though he is an unvaccinated player, assuming that he is either showing no symptoms or is showing lessening symptoms, he would be eligible to play.
That lessening symptoms
I will tell you this, Harry, it certainly opens up a little bit of not a subjective measure, but how are you defining lessening symptoms? Is it the player? Is it the team medical staff? Who is judging whether the symptoms are lessening or not?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't know. How do you judge that? Because somebody can be saying, well, you know what, I don't really have those symptoms. And if they really want to play, we don't know if they're really actually telling the truth. I mean, we will hope players will be telling the truth. But when it comes down to winning, I mean, anything is possible. Not saying that that's what Carson Wentz is going to do. I'm just saying, when it comes down to winning, people do any and everything. Ask Tom Brady, the flick game.
Every Sunday do a show called Primetime on ESPN Radio from 5 to 9 p.m. with the great Chris Budden. And you and I, you know by now that one of the things that I don't love to do is after week 4 and week 6 and week 8 and week 9 and 10, who's the MVP? Who's the MVP? Who's the MVP? Because things change so much. At some point earlier this year, Kyler Murray was the clear-cut MVP. Well, how's that chatter going right now? It's non-existent. But we are in week 17 of the NFL season. We're close enough to the finish line where we can have this conversation and do so thoughtfully. And this has me wondering about Jonathan Taylor. In the event that Carson Wentz does have to miss a game, if the Colts cement their playoff status with the win on Sunday against the Raiders, what does that do to the case for Jonathan Taylor as the league's MVP this year?
I say it makes it stronger. I think it puts on notice. Not that everyone is not put on notice, but I think it highlights Jonathan Taylor even more. Hey, they were without their starting quarterback. They had to lean on Jonathan Taylor even that much more. He got it done. He rushed for over 100 yards. I think it's significant. And I think if Jonathan Taylor wants to move up a notch in the MVP race, I think you go out there if you play without Carson Wentz and you have a great game. I think that
one
does.
of the years that you played in the league, Adrian Peterson did win the NFL's MVP. I believe every other year besides that, a quarterback won the MVP. Do you think that this year, if Jonathan Taylor is going to legitimately enter the MVP conversation, do you believe, Harry, it would be more a byproduct of his own season and having a great season in which he currently leads the NFL in both rushing and rushing touchdowns? Or is it just as much influenced by the fact that while there have been some quarterbacks that have been really good and some of them have been really good of late, we don't have a runaway quarterback MVP this year like we did last year with Aaron Rodgers, who by the end of the season, it was obvious who the NFL's MVP was.
Phil, I actually think it's a mix of both. I think it's a mix of both. And when you look at Jonathan Taylor, listen, what he's done this year has been amazing. But I am going to say, if Derrick Henry was running that football for the Tennessee Titans still, we probably wouldn't be talking about Jonathan Taylor, which is sad because I think he is one of the best running backs, if not the best running back in football right now currently because he's playing. Like I mentioned earlier, he's a guy who can do it in both the pass and the run game. But I just think right now I think Aaron Rodgers leads the way. I do believe that Jonathan Taylor is number 2. I think Tom Brady is number 3 in those regards. But there's no telling what can happen in these last 2 games. You show up and show out and you really put this team on your back. I know you've already been doing it all year, but if you really carry them without a Carson Wentz on your football team, well, and then we already seen against New England. New England knew that Jonathan Taylor was going to run the football. They couldn't stop him, right? The Arizona Cardinals knew Jonathan Taylor was going to run the football. They couldn't stop him. That's the thing about his season that's so remarkable is that everybody knows that he's going to get the football and Frank Wright is going to lean on his shoulders. I just wish they would have did it against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because if they would have did it late in that game, he would have made a case. I think he'd be even a little higher in the MVP race.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.